Hi, my name is Christian Johannesson, and this is me Draw My Life. I was born in October 20, 1998, and I was raised by my mother, my father, my two sisters, and my brother. In my life, I very much enjoyed video games, and it has stayed a relevant part of my life, filling the time that I don't use in school. It helped shape the decisions that I've made in my life, and it also helped me become the person that I am today. Going backwards, when I was younger, around the age of 3, my family and I went to church. It was nearing the end of the sermon, and I remember running outside to go to my dad. And as I was crossing the street, I didn't notice a car passing by. And I didn't know the concept of looking both ways, so before I knew it, I was hit and I was in the air. Probably looking back, I would have been yelling, "Wee." Now, that driver, we don't know who they were. They just sort of disappeared into the sunset wherever they are now. I hope they're okay, not living in guilt about hitting someone on accident. Quickly, my siblings surrounded me. My dad, who was the closest, ran to me, and there I was just laying there, and the entire situation was sort of surreal. I mean, I know people were calling 911. I know they were just making sure I was okay, and overall, it was a weird experience since I was only 3 at the time. A few hours later, my family and I would be there at the hospital seeing if I was okay. I didn't pass out. I know I fell asleep, and I woke up in the hospital with my family nearby, and they told me how they were holding Sunday school because they wanted to pray for me at the hospital and see if I was okay. Thankfully, I left the hospital in a wheelchair. No, not I was not injured actually. I was completely fine, no injuries out of that entire situation. And since company policy they told me that I had to stay in that wheelchair until I left the hospital. And looking back, I think it's pretty sick that I even survived that as a kid. Fast forward to my elementary years, and I would begin to get into basketball. Now, basketball was a sport that I didn't get into myself. It was actually my dad who got me into it. Um, we would play basketball with our very, very crappy basketball court. Actually, it was pretty bad. Always, it would sometimes fall over if you would bump into it, which was pretty silly. Aside from that, he sort of gave me the fundamentals and made me become a Lakers fan, which was very enjoyable for my time as they were pretty much on their runs those years. Now, this was actually my favorite part of my life because it gave me this father son bonding experience that I haven't had in a long time. And looking back, I do very much so miss that. Because fast forward to the weekend before my 7th grade year, which was 9/11, my father wound up getting hospitalized. Now, the reason for this was due to him doing dialysis basically, and eventually all the things he had done would lead to his passing 2 days later on 9/13. As a result, I was fatherless, and my family was in a time of mourning. At that time, I didn't really know how to react. I was just sitting there thinking, "Oh man, what? Everyone's all crying, and I'm just sitting here like, what do I do? What's happening?" You know, I didn't have a father figure. Like, I couldn't just say, "Dad, what's gonna happen now?" You know, because everyone else was too busy mourning for their own reasons. And luckily for me, my sister's new husband, my Conan, would sort of fill that role of being a father figure. Um, Personally, had he not been there, it would have taken its toll of not having a father, and he took the responsibility of keeping me in check in that time period. Sort of made me look at myself and think, you know, what do you have in store for the future? What has he left you? What has he taught you? do you have like a strong connection with God? Do you have a good future in mind? And how do you plan to stay mentally strong? And I sort of hold those questions to myself every day. After that, my priorities changed a lot. School was obviously always a priority, but then video games wound up pretty much taking up my entire life. And the sport that I once loved, basketball, wound up being the last thing on my mind. And during that school year, I actually delved into YouTube for once and decided to go with a singing YouTube channel. It was an exciting time because I received praise not only from those that I knew around me in the real world, but the occasional stranger that passed by my video and said, "Nice job, keep up the good work, we love you, no homo." And there were also the strangers that made the experience somewhat distasteful, but they didn't discourage me because they were just words, and personally, I didn't care what some random guy said over the internet. And in the end, I stopped singing on YouTube, but I did continue singing in my life, and I do enjoy doing that, and maybe someday I'll continue taking up that idea. Fast forward now, and I'm a shaggy-haired weirdo. Personally, I've become this guy that makes silly and or distasteful jokes that bring a laugh to many, but personally, it's always good to laugh. Keep yourself smiling. I continued playing video games for the past, well, actually my whole life really. I've actually been playing video games, and I also have been thinking about doing YouTube at some point in my life, whether it's in a few days, few weeks, few years, who knows, but it's always been on my mind to do YouTube again someday. Now, looking back at the things I wish I had achieved, which was going big on YouTube, that was one thing I always wanted to do. Learning new instruments was also another big thing, and going pro in video games also seemed like an idea that me and my friends had. Making money was always something that I think everyone in this nation wants to do. Becoming buff is something I someday hope to do, and finding true love to fill the void that is in my heart. And further the future, I hope to go to community college, and after 2 years transfer into university where I will major in computers or take the route of the medical field, and hopefully I will be able to ride into the sunset and leave behind my successes to my future family or whatever is in store for me. And that's it. Just want to say that it's been a pretty crazy night, and thanks for watching.